know now that there's a lot of athletes, and that's who I deal with, with VTO Sports, are young athletes who probably have some of the same hurdles that I had when I was coming along. Made some bad decisions like I did when I was young. That was all tied back to the relationship with your mom and your dad. And so now, as a part of talking to young men, talking to athletes, talking to young girls, is just try to help them understand that, hey, don't run from that. Embrace it. And telling parents that if you see the warning signs, don't be afraid to get him or her with a therapist, get him or her with some mental health. I know we did an event a couple years ago. We had asked kids that had thought about hurting themselves or thought about, ending their life, to stand. And we would not judge them, but just stand. We had about 200 kids in the room, probably at least 50 stood up.
Wow.
And it just shocked me.
Yeah.
So we were able to give it those kids, give it their parents, try to get them in contact with a local therapist to understand that there's nothing wrong with dealing with mental health. It's wrong if you don't deal with it.
Right.
It's wrong if you don't go get some help. That's when you're hurting yourself.
Welcome to another episode of Strong Place. I'm Io Johnson, Executive Director of Mental Health America of Central Carolinas. And today I have my distinguished guest, Coach Vincent Jacobs. Vince is originally from Port Gibson, Mississippi, and is a lifelong sports and IT professional. He excelled in football and track at Port Gibson High School, earning a football scholarship to Alabama A&M as an offensive lineman, where he was a 4-year letterman and a 2-year starter. Vincent graduated with a BS in computer science and has built a 35-year career in IT beginning in Dallas, Texas. Since moving to Charlotte in 1995, Vincent has been deeply involved in youth sports. He started coaching in 1998 with the University Jaguars and the Piedmont Youth Football League, later serving as the league commissioner. In 2008, he co-founded VTO Sports, which supports athletic development for young athletes, and in 2010, he established the Carolina Basketball Club, a successful AAU basketball program with over 40 teams. As the North Carolina AAU State Girls Basketball Director since 2014, Vincent continues to advocate for youth athletics and mentorship. He's also a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma and 100 Black Men of Charlotte and is committed to empowering youth both on and off the fields. Welcome, Coach Vince. You have quite the bio, and I know this was just the shortened version, so we're going to get into a little bit of all of it, but I've been really anticipating this conversation because I'm a huge sports fan, and I love youth sports ever since my son was playing them. My kids, well, both my son and daughter played youth sports, but also my I call him my little brother. His dad was used to be my pastor, and his kids are really into youth sports. I enjoy going to their games and supporting them. So I can't wait to ask you some more questions about that. But first, I want to lead off with what your personal mental health journey has been.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting for me. It's something when I grew up you really didn't talk about. Something that was looked at as something that you shouldn't really concern yourself with, or you shouldn't really mention to make you look like you may be weak. But as I got older in my adult life, I kept, having some issues and had some things going on. So I finally broke down and consulted with a therapist and started really meeting on a weekly basis with him. And it really changed my life. It allowed me to get some things out. A little bit of history. I've been blessed, but my mom was a teenage pregnancy. She was in high school. She met my dad over a summer. They became close, and before you know it, she was pregnant with me. He went back to where he lived in Kansas City. My mom had me, and she was in high school. She was a junior in high school when she was pregnant with me. She pretty much back in those days in Mississippi, if you're pregnant, you can't go to school. It wasn't something they allowed. So she had me, and then she moved from there. She didn't finish high school. She moved to New York and started her life. But I always was wondering, what happened to my dad?
Mhm.
Where's he at? I found later that he was alive, he had his own family, and he was doing well. But because of the relationship with him and my mom, he never did kind of reach back to me. And being raised by my grandmother, one of the things she told me as she got older before she passed is, Vince, go find your dad. Go spend some time with him. Go get to know him. Whatever happened to him and your mom, that's nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
Go find him. So when she passed, I gave her a promise that I would do that. So I did. I found him, reached out to him, and we actually started communicating about 5 years ago.
Wow.
He lives in Kansas City.
Mhm.
He's he had two other kids that he had with his wife who had passed, and I flew to Kansas City, and we met and we talked, and we are now 5 years later are close.
Right.
And my biggest issue was to make sure my kids knew who their grandfather was,
Mhm.
and so I flew my son out, and he got a chance to spend a weekend. We took a football game, we hung out, went out to eat, and so I bridged that gap. And now him and my son, they change numbers, they talk. They don't want my daughter for her to meet him, and so they were having a family reunion in Mississippi.
Mhm.
So I was able to get my daughter to Mississippi, and she got a chance to meet him, spend some time with him, meet his children, and so that was a big thing in my brain for years. Like, you know, how can I overcome this, and how can I deal with this? And my therapist really helped me, and he helped
Mhm.
me to say, go spend time with him. Don't hold him responsible for the things that happened. Don't blame him or blame
Mhm.
your mom. It's life.
Right.
They were young, something happened, you came along, and you've made a good living, you've made a good life for yourself. And so my therapist really helped me handle that because I,
Mhm.
I was angry at some point. I'm a good guy, I'm a good kid, I'm a good student, I'm a good football player. Why this man don't want to spend time with me? Why he
Mhm.
doesn't want to, see me?
Mhm.
But later on, I found out he thought the opposite. He thought that I didn't want to see him, or my mom didn't want me to be a part of it. It was an issue with them, not with me. And so
Gotcha.
so now as a 60-year-old man, you know, 5 years in with my dad, it's been really good.
Mhm.
And so one of the things I did coming out of that was I knew there's other people have the same issues that I have. You know, not sure about their mental health. And
Mhm.
so as a part of my business, VTO Sports, we include that now as a part of our communications with athletes,
Mhm.
and it's been real successful.
I'm curious though, how has, like, reaching out to your dad and just in general, how has it evolved your relationship with your mom? You said you were raised by your grandmother.
Yeah, it's really funny. When the pandemic hit, my mom got sick.
Mhm.
She lived in Chicago. Her and my stepfather, and my sister was helping support them. And my mom got sick. My sister reached out and said, "I can't handle them both. I can't take care of them both." So my mom moved to Charlotte with me and lives with me. And
Okay.
so she has been a part of the relationship, getting back to know my dad. She actually talk to your dad. No, so it's the point now where I
Mhm.
don't blame her. I don't hold her accountable for that. She has really helped me embrace the fact that I do have a father that loves me, that cares about me, and that wants to be a part of my life now.
Mhm.
It's a big piece in there that's missing,
Mhm.
but I hadn't let it really hold me back from caring about him, caring about her, and our relationship is actually gotten better because for a long time I blamed her, a long time I blamed him, but now it's just like, hey, they're both still here, thank God, and I both can spend time with them. I was able to get them together. They hadn't seen
Wow.
each other in 50 years at his family reunion. I flew her down to Mississippi, and I
Mhm.
was able to get a picture of my mother, father, me, and my daughter, and it's something I'm
Aw,
holding on forever.
great. So you get your mom, your dad, your daughter, yourself, in this picture, right? And you say you're treasuring it. Did that help, like, resolve, some of the things, I guess, from childhood, from teenagehood for you, or, did it bring up more questions?
Oh man, I shared that with my therapist, a couple weeks after that, and we were able to really go in and break down a lot of things that I was trying to figure out why.
Mhm.
Some of the things I did, some of the anger I had, some of the frustration I had, and it really allowed me to, really close the chapter on a lot of those. unresolved questions, unresolved issues in my mind, and it just allowed me to just be free, you
Mhm.
know, and feel good about the next chapter of my life. And the biggest thing now is trying to get my father out here so he can see the grandkids.
Okay.
Hadn't seen I have two grandkids,
Mhm.
and they're 4 and 2. Vince Jacobs the third,
Aw,
and little Drew.
I
So
love it.
our goal next year is to get him out here so he can spend time with his grandkids and they get to see him because they're both in their 80s. My mom is 81, he's 83,
Okay.
and so with that being said, we don't have a ton of time, so I want to speed the process up by getting him to know his grandkids and his grandkids get to know their great grandfather.
Has this situation, right, just in general, did it change how you parent?
Yeah, it did, and it allowed me to really embrace mental health, not only from a parenting standpoint, but
Mhm.
from a business standpoint.
Mhm.
I know now that there's a lot of athletes, and that's who I deal with,
Mhm.
with VTO Sports, are young athletes who probably have some of the same hurdles that I had when I was coming along.
Mhm.
Made some bad decisions like I did when I was young.
Mhm.
That was all tied back to the relationship with your mom and your dad.
Mhm.
And so now, as a part of talking to young men, talking to athletes, talking to young girls, is just try to help them understand that, hey, don't run from that, embrace it,
Mhm.
and telling parents that if you see the warning signs, don't be afraid to him or her with a therapist, get him or her
Mhm.
with some mental help. I know we did an event a couple years ago. We had asked kids that had thought about hurting themselves or thought about ending their lives to stand,
Mhm.
and we would not judge them, but just stand. We had about 200 kids in the room, and probably at least 50 stood up,
Wow.
and it just shocked me. And
Yeah.
so we were able to give it those kids, give it their parents, try to get them in contact with a local therapist to understand that there's nothing wrong with dealing with mental health.
Mhm.
It's wrong if you don't deal with it.
Right.
It's wrong if you don't go get some help. That's
Mhm.
when you're hurting yourself. But back to my point, yeah, it's really has helped me and my son. Uh, and I've encouraged him, and he's embraced. He has a therapist that he
Wow.
meets with.
That's a
He has a bunch of friends. They have a call once a month where they all get on the phone and talk. They're all in their late 30s, and they're all married and with kids, and they're all trying to figure out their direction. But
Mhm.
just it's called the guys talk. They meet on the phone once a month and they chat and talk about different issues, because I think it's important that as Black men you embrace it
Mhm.
versus running away from it.
Right. Yeah, and I was just thinking something really similar about how happy I am that there are men like yourself and the other men that are in the 100 Black Men of Charlotte, that are talking about this, right? And really embracing it. Because I don't know how much it'll change like our generation, right? Or shift things. But what it will do, I believe, is change these generations coming behind us as we reach back to the millennials who then reach back to Gen Z, who reach back to I think the alpha, I think I said it is coming behind them. We need that, right? And this is how we continue to break down some of the barriers, especially those that are holding back. I think the Black community, we really need you guys, the men in our community, to talk about mental health more and physical health, right? So
Mhm,
because I just say health is health, we
mhm,
say mental health. There's no difference between mental health and physical health because if you can't think, if your brain isn't functioning, it's what tells the rest of your body what to do. And so, and then also prolonged um, ig- ignoring our mental health for too long, or if you're under a chronic stress,
mhm,
that begins to break us down physically. So I really love what you're talking about and just the fact that you are intentional about incorporating mental health in your sports programs. I work for Mental Health America. So in this space, some of the alarming statistics that I've learned is the high rates of suicide attempts in athletes, young
yeah,
athletes, the stress, that they're under, whether it be internally or externally. I know that you mentioned that you address that in your programs. Do you find the young athletes more prone now to talk about it? And you deal with boys and girls, so do you find that they're more comfortable talking about it now?
Uh, it's a barrier that you got to break down. I mean,
Okay.
even the kids who stood up and said they had thought about it, they didn't want to talk about it in front of the other teammates, the other guys in the room.
Mm,
They felt that it made them look weak. Because to think about it, a lot of the athletes I deal with are elite level athletes. They're trying to go to D1 college or trying to make it to the NFL. And if you go to the NFL, you can save your family. So
mhm.
that pressure of I'm the one going to take us from here to there. I'm the one going to take us out of poverty. I'm the one who's going to take us, to the big car and the big house. And
Mhm.
so it's a lot of pressure on these young guys. And then now you start to see it on the girls' side where they want to make it to the WNBA. They want to, make a ton of money. They want to use athletics to get them to a higher level. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of pressure. And then what happens if they have a setback? That seems to be what's really causing the problems. They uh, didn't get the offer that they wanted, or didn't get to go to the college they want. I've been trying to encourage them just not to quit, to talk about it. If I give them all my phone number. If you need to just talk, you need to just bounce something off of somebody, you can call me or you can text me. And lo and behold, I've gotten hundreds of calls and texts over the last 4 or 5 years when I did that. But I feel good about it because I try to get back with their parents. Say, hey, you might want to reach out to somebody, your son or your daughter is kind of like weavering right now. They're kind of not sure about what direction they want to go. They're
Mhm.
afraid. They're not afraid of what they might do to themselves, and we
Mhm.
want to catch that now because we don't want any kid to lose their life, and that could have been prevented by getting some help.
Right. Absolutely. I always thought it was abnormal for a man that oversees some type of youth sports to deal with sports for boys and girls, right? But it seems like it's maybe not as uncommon as I thought it was because I was thinking when I was telling you earlier about my little brother. I call my little brother Jamal. He coaches boys football, but he also coaches girls basketball. So is that common or
Well,
not common?
it was forced on me
Oh,
by having a son and a daughter.
okay, okay.
I spent a lot of time with my son because he's a couple years older than my daughter.
Mhm,
So he got out first. He was
mhm.
coaching the University Jaguars because my son wanted to play football.
Okay.
When I first started coaching because, he wanted to play football. I played college football, and I wanted to make sure he was getting proper training and proper access. And so as a dad, I stepped out and said,
Mhm,
I'll help coach. All of a sudden, my daughter, her mom was getting her involved in dance and ballet, and it didn't really fit her.
mhm,
She's kind of got her dad's built. She's a little heavy, and so she didn't really like it. So one day I took her to the Y, and I said, "Hey, you want to try out for the Y team?" And she said, "Yeah." And that was her passion. She liked basketball.
mhm,
She fit that better.
mhm,
Uh, she uh, she started working out, and then all of a sudden AAU came around, and they needed a coach for her team,
mhm.
and so I started coaching AAU for her, and got
Wow.
involved with AAU basketball. Fell in love with that, and said I want to build my own AAU program. And that's when I started CBC, and it grew to be one of the largest AAU organizations in the Southeast. But again, in my situation, because my son wanted to play football
Right.
and I wanted to help.
Mhm.
My daughter wanted to play basketball because I didn't think dance was her calling. And she did that, and she ended up playing basketball through middle school, through high school, and then she also played volleyball.
Okay.
And she actually got a volleyball scholarship to North Carolina A&T, where she went to school and got her degree from North Carolina
Okay.
A&T
Okay.
in business. So sports has just been a part of the foundation of my family.
Mhm.
I know coming out of Mississippi, you really had three choices. You get lucky enough to get a football scholarship or a basketball scholarship. You went work at the mill, there's a local mill there in my hometown,
Mhm.
or you go to the military.
Mm.
And I really didn't want those other two choices. I didn't really want to go to the military. I really didn't want to work at the mill. And so I was blessed to get a football scholarship and get away.
Right.
I had offers from a lot of local Mississippi schools,
Mhm.
Alcorn State, Jackson State,
Mhm.
but I wanted to get away from Mississippi. So I went to Alabama A&M, and it was great. And so I always felt that I owed a debt to that sport, or to
Mhm.
any sport. And the
Okay.
only way I could pay that debt back was to try to go help other humans, other people.
Mhm.
And so I started with my own kids, and then people were saying, "Vince, why are you still coaching? Victoria's gone, Vince Jr.'s gone." I said, "Man, I still got some debt I got to pay. I still got some people I need to help."
Mm.
And so as being a commissioner of the league, being the state director for North Carolina for AAU, running VTO Sports, were all the different buckets that I was able to use to help give back.
Right. So you went to college for computer science, and you also had an IT career. Do you still do IT? Are you balancing them both, or are you completely immersed in sports now?
No, I'm still in IT. I'm a consultant for a company called Jones Day Law Firm out of Cleveland. I work remote, and I work in IT, and I enjoy it.
Mhm.
And that's my career. I'm an IT professional, certifications, different areas. But when you work in IT, when you get away from it, you want to do something that has nothing to do with IT.
Right.
And so sports allows me to get away from my 9 to 5 on the weekends and the evenings, and really totally clear my mind of what I'm doing every single day,
Mhm.
which is IT work.
Right.
And so it's been great for me. A lot of people do golf, a lot of people do other activities, but youth sports has been my passion for years. Even after my kids aged out,
Mhm.
I still have passion for it.
Right. Are you still actively coaching, or are you just now commissioning and running leagues and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. I've my last coaching opportunities was I was the head girls basketball coach at Cabarrus Charter.
Okay.
Right as the pandemic hit,
Mhm.
and then once the pandemic hit, I stepped down because I had my mom here and I need to balance out life.
Mhm.
Help her a little bit. Also run VTO. So
Mhm.
now I'm not coaching.
Okay.
I'm just running VTO Sports. I'm not the state director anymore.
Okay.
I didn't run again for AAU state director, and so my focus really is a little bit more singular focus.
Just
Uh,
football?
just football. Uh, but I'm running events per se in the football
Okay.
space. But
Okay.
I still collaborate with other sports. I think I mentioned that I'm doing the football in volleyball and basketball and soccer and track and field and baseball for CMS, Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, in the middle
No,
school
you did
space.
not mention that. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, middle school.
yeah.
Okay.
So I got to have a contract with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools
Mhm.
to run championship tournaments for their middle school sports.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's a new avenue, just started last year.
Mhm.
I'm super excited about it. I'm super ready to see it blossom into something great. Last year
Mhm.
we just did football only, and
Mhm.
then the way it worked is that CMS middle school athletes don't have a championship,
Right.
or they
Good enough.
didn't.
Mhm.
They play their 5 or 6 games and it's over,
Mhm.
and that's the end. So that had led to a lot of parents and athletes not playing middle school anymore.
Mhm.
They were like, "Hey, this is not worth our time. You only play 5 games, 6 games. You don't get any trophies. You don't get any championships." And so I proposed to CMS, let me run a tournament for each one of those sports and crown a city champion.
Wow.
And so last year we had a 3-week tournament for football.
Mhm.
We had 8 teams, the top 8 teams from all over the city of Charlotte, put them in a tournament. They played over 3 weekends, and we crowned a city champion, which last year was Piedmont Middle School, which was kind of cool. They hadn't lost a game in 8 years.
Wow.
And so this year we're doing it again. We just added volleyball.
Mhm.
We're adding girls and boys basketball. We're adding soccer. We're adding track and field. And then next year we're adding softball and baseball.
You were quite the force to be reckoned with, coach. This is just in you, huh? When we were talking earlier, prior to the interview about, how you incorporate mental health into your programs. Tell me a little bit more about that. Are you doing it now at all the levels? You're only doing it with VTO on the football side?
Yeah, right now it's only on the VTO side. I
Okay.
haven't, CMS is a different animal, so I hadn't figured out how I would embrace that,
Mm-hmm.
especially with such young kids, middle school kids. So I haven't tackled that yet, but I still make it a part of my VTO. We do about 20 football camps
Mm-hmm.
around the country, from California to Florida to Chicago to to Tennessee.
Wow.
So as a
Okay.
part of our camp tour, those are weekend events. Usually we'll fly into a city on Friday night. We'll get up Saturday morning and we'll host a camp, and then we'll drive to another city, host a camp on Sunday, and then fly back home.
Mm-hmm.
During those 6 hour, 4 hour events, we have a component called, we call it parent talk or athlete talk. It's sort of like a presentation time where we talk about different topics. We usually bring all the parents and athletes into the gym, and we have them in the stands, and different speakers will come up and talk to them. And so the last couple of years, I brought along a mental health person, or either I'll hire somebody local to just take a minute to talk to the athletes
Mm-hmm.
about their mental health. I'm not qualified for that.
Right.
I'm qualified to take a call from a parent or a kid,
Mm-hmm.
kind of help get them in the right direction, or recommend a phone number for them to call for help. But I'm by no means a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a person who has the ability to integrate that into my program. And I'm the only camp operator right now that does that, who takes and adds that component to their camps as they travel around the country.
Well, just, shameless plug. I would love for Mental Health America to be able to partner with you with what you're doing with CMS and the middle school students. We are just challenged with how do we get to our kids younger
Mm.
to make sure they just have some like foundation to stand on when it comes to protecting their mental health. It's really unfortunate and it's sad, but the data does show that our children are struggling with their mental health younger and younger. We are seeing suicidal ideations rise in children as young as 8 and 9 years old. So when they get into middle school, I think that they're increasingly vulnerable. That also tends to be the time where a lot of parents are starting to let their kids on social media. And I am a fan of social media in that it connects us globally. So what we didn't used to know what was happening in present time with, in other continents and other countries, now we know. So there's some really good things that come out of social media, but the challenges are, and I'm a former middle school and elementary school teacher. So, but the challenges are that our kids I don't feel like their emotions have evolved enough, right? And matured enough for them to be able to separate reality and what they see on these little screens and what, they see in reels and different posts from what the truth is that they may see somebody their age who's got 10,000 followers, but they may not see the struggles that they're going through at home. And I want to get mental health resources to our kids as young as middle school. MHA, we have a youth advisory council, but we start that in high school. And I want to figure out ways that we can get to them younger, give them a really strong foundation to stand on. So when they do get into these really competitive high school sports, and like
Mm.
we like you said, like the challenges and the weight of trying to get their family out of the projects or out of poverty. um they know where to go to get some help when they start to feel that weight starting to press down on them. Yeah, so I would love to partner. Shameless plug.
Yeah. Yeah.
um you're still doing IT. All right. You're doing, you said you work for a law firm out of Cleveland, I believe you said. You work
Mm.
remotely. So you have a nice balance of sports, work, right? Your profession. Do you have any other passion projects? What else keeps you balanced? How do you take care of Coach Vince?
I mean, I go to church. I'm a Christian.
Mhm.
I
What
try
church
to
you go to?
Ebenezer,
Okay.
off of Sugar Creek right there.
Hmm.
So I mean that's one of the areas that I try to stay spiritual, try to try to stay prayed up, as they say.
Mhm.
In any spare time I get, right now I'm trying to spend as much time I can with my grandkids.
Okay.
They're the future.
Mhm.
I got again. I have a third, of Vince Jacobs the third. So excited about him. He's starting to get into sports. He's playing t-ball and soccer and karate. So,
Mhm.
my thing now is give back to the community as much as I can through the CMS projects, to the VTO camps, but do not neglect my grandkids, because and my son and my daughter.
Mhm.
I think I would be doing a disservice
Mhm.
if I didn't take her home too, because there was times in my life between IT and doing stuff that I wasn't always there when they were coming up. I
Mhm.
mean, my young years in IT, I was traveling around the world, London and Germany, doing IT projects, and so
Mhm.
I left them with their mom a lot.
Mhm.
And so now that we're all here in Charlotte, um, it's my goal now is to make sure I fill the gap that I may have missed with my son and my daughter with my grandkids.
Mhm. Well, that's admirable. I don't have grandkids yet. My kids are like they're not here for it yet. But and I have two adult children, but eventually I'm gonna get
Mhm.
there. And at first I thought I was like, yeah, I really want grandkids, and now I'm like, we're gonna wait.
Yeah.
Let's wait. I still have life in that mind because, like you, I think when they come, I really want to be able to dial in and have a lot more time with them. So the your daughter is younger, right?
Mhm.
She's a younger one, and she was the one that you were able to fly to Mississippi,
Mhm.
to meet your dad,
Mhm.
and your son has also met him,
Mhm. I
right?
flew him to Kansas City. My
Right.
my he lives in
Okay.
Kansas City.
Okay, because your dad lives in Kansas City.
Mhm.
So and they both have their own,
Yeah,
like, relationship
careers.
with them.
Yeah, they traded numbers. My daughter, I talk to her almost daily, checking on her, and she said, "Yeah, her grandpa called. Talked
Mhm.
a little bit."
I love that.
And so it's really, when he told me that, he was wanted to be a part of our lives. He's lived up to that.
Right.
A lot of people tell you stuff, and at the moment, but he said, "Hey, I'm sorry for all the years I missed. I'm gonna try to do my best to be a part of you guys' lives going forward." And
Right.
he has been.
You know what's really standing out to me about your story, right, and your family and how it's evolved is at the time that your kids are getting to know their grandfather, you are getting that blessing of really being present with your grandkids, right? And so it's like this full circle moment of joy.
Yes.
And I love that. I love that for you. I love that for your family. I don't there's so many like different data out there now about like, why millennials and our young adults are choosing to wait to have kids or
Mhm.
choosing not to have them, and because it's so expensive. And I was just reading an article, I think it was last week, about one of the bigger differences is, especially with the American society versus other parts of the world, is that we don't tend to live multi-generational. And so childcare is
Mhm.
so high that people just opt in to not have kids. They're like, "Look, I
Can't
can't
afford it.
afford it." So just the fact that your family now is, like, just bridging these generations, I love that, I really do, and there's just something to be said about that, so kudos to your family. Um, what would you tell or what advice would you give to up and coming coaches or those that want to really make an impact in new sports, maybe build a league or start a program for young athletes? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, the first thing I would give them is, don't do it to make money.
Mm,
Don't do it that you think this opportunity to line your pockets or to uh, bring a bunch of income in. Do it for the love of supporting kids, the love of the sport,
Mhm.
and the love of trying to help your community. I ran across a lot of people over the years who train, do leagues, and do a lot of different things in the space that I'm in
Mhm.
that are really, doing it for the wrong reasons and are guiding parents and kids down the wrong route.
Mhm.
And so I just say, if you do it because you love it, do it because you want to give back,
Mhm.
do it because you have passion for it, but don't do it for money.
Gotcha. Do you feel like coaches nowadays are selling empty promises? Are they like, just to get kids into their leagues, telling them that they can get them college scholarships, they can, help them go pro? Do you feel like that's happening?
There's some of that out there. Yeah,
Mhm.
they call handlers. Now with the NIL deals that are out there for the high level sport kids,
Mhm.
those guys want to go along for the ride and hopefully cash in at the end when that
Mhm.
kid makes it to the NBA or makes it to the NFL. They cash in.
Mhm.
I think you can do it and help kids without having the mindset of cashing in.
Right.
I mean, I have so many kids that I've worked with. It's not on my bio, but I coached a couple years at Ridge Road Middle School,
Mhm.
and that was one of the most coach football there. That's one of the most rewarding opportunities.
Mhm.
On that team at Ridge Road Middle, there are 3 NFL guys off of that team. But I didn't try to, follow up with them. I didn't try to. I don't, I still know their parents. I still know them. They see me and they come up, give me a hug. But that little middle school team, over the 2 years I coached, there are guys who went on to play at Mallard Creek and other schools,
Mhm.
but they went to the NFL. And I try to tell guys, be there to support them, but don't try to grab their coattail and replace the parent or
Mm.
overstep the mom or give the mom unbelievable advice or just try to be honest and straight up with them. Try to do it for the right reasons, and at the end of the day, you'll get your reward. My reward is one of the kids came out to one of the camps and spoke.
Right.
Told them about Coach Vince coached me,
Mhm.
and that was one of the most blessed days I've had.
Right.
It wasn't no financial thing. It was more like, hey, he just showed his appreciation to what I did when I was trying to coach him, trying to help him.
Gotcha. So you have my business hat on now because when you said don't do it to make money, but it costs you to be able to travel around the country and to do these camps. So I'm assuming that there is a business aspect to this, but I think what I hear you saying is um, do it because you're passionate about helping children achieve their dreams, not necessarily going in leading with I'm gonna make money off of you.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, sure, you're 100% right. VTO Sports could not survive if we didn't charge kids and parents a fee for our events.
Mhm.
But what I've tried to do is not to position that business to where I have to pay my bills off of that business. You have
Gotcha.
people that build youth leagues
Mhm.
and help run leagues, and they will the money will come.
Right.
I think the money will come if you do it right and you're doing it for the right reasons. The money will come when you don't even expect it to come,
Mhm.
and it will come bigger and better than you expect if you do it the right way. But I've seen a lot of these guys, and they're just straight manipulating and using parents. And when the kid don't make it, they throw them to the side and try to get the next kid.
Mhm.
And those are the ones that I try to warn parents about and try to give them heads up. Hey, you just need to be careful with that situation.
Right.
Not to say I'm perfect, but at the same time, I've never went into any situation with money being the number one factor.
Mhm.
Even though money does come, even though money will come, even though VTO Sports is, is a private owned little business. It has no debt. We don't owe anybody anything.
Right.
And we've been able to pay off everything that we ever owed.
Mhm.
But I never went into it trying to make money,
Right.
trying to have money be the reason why I'm doing it.
Mhm.
The reason why I'm doing it is to try to help and give back and support and go with a passion that I have, not for it to be uh, money first.
Right. How much longer you see yourself doing this?
I always told my kids that, hey, I like to be this old dude uh, on the sideline at
So
a
they're gonna be
football
pushing you
game,
in a
pushing me
wheelchair.
in a wheelchair. And I always, put this in real life so you can hear it. I want to be buried I want my funeral to be at a football field, okay? I don't want to be buried on the football field, but I want my funeral at a football field. So I remember that, okay? But but yeah,
Love it.
I love it. I mean, uh, I can't say nothing, but I've been blessed, man.
Mhm.
And to be able to see some of the things I've been able to see and go someplace I've been able to go
Mhm.
and have a decent home and drive a decent car. I would be totally wrong if I didn't give back. If I didn't find a way to give back and help bring somebody along, or bring some kids, or bring another adult or parent along, then I
Mhm.
would really be wrong if I didn't.
Right.
Because I know how hard it is for people to break that chain of poverty.
Right.
I know how hard it is for people to to go to college and get a college degree that pays really good money.
Mhm.
Being in computer science and being in IT and being a technology person, it's been a blessing, and it allowed me to do some of the things in sports that I do because I can pull a little money, from my real world and put it in my sports world, even when the sports world is taking a loss. You
Mm.
know, my AAU club, it almost bankrupt me because we were
Wow.
spending so much money for travel and
Mhm.
for uniforms and for gear and shoes and all this stuff but I wanted those kids to have that experience.
Right.
But the business itself was not netting the revenue to cover it. But I
Mhm.
just wanted it to happen. So I would go in my own bank account, my own savings, and dump tons and tons of money into it because I wanted it to be successful.
I think a lot of people do not know that about, people that coach youth sports. Shout out to, uh, the Mac, Dolphins and my little bro, Jamal Jenkins, and that whole family, because I know how much money that they pour into those children, into those boys, and those on those teams. And a lot of people just don't know
Mhm.
unless you're close with those people. And, it's great to go to championships and fly to Florida and go to these tournaments and everything. It costs money though. So I just am thankful for men like you, and women that are also out there supporting and coaching, um, that you are so giving, of yourselves, of your time, your talent, your treasure, to help our youth. So I appreciate you and I appreciate what you've been doing. I am super impressed just by the heart that you have for our kids, and all these different sports. And so thank you. I appreciate you being here. I would love for you to tell the audience where they can find you if they're interested in getting their kids involved with VTO Sports, or even if there's a young man out there that wants to do what you're doing and would love to learn more about how to do it, because you see, to have the heart that you'd be willing to share that knowledge. Tell our audience how they can find you and VTO Sports.
Thank you. All right, so VTO Sports, our website is vtosports.com. Victor, Thomas, Oscar, sports.com. Our Instagram is at VTO Sports. We have a Facebook, VTO Sports Elite. So all the social media platforms, we're there. We would love to find some interns out there who want to come intern with VTO. That's how we survived the last few years, especially interns that want to get involved in social media, interns want to get involved in learning how to run a sports business, and interns that may want to be involved in how to do a sports camp or run a league. So I'd love to get people engaged. I'd love for you to reach out to me. I reach out to Coach Vince at VTO Sports is my email address, and I would love to get some feedback.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for joining us on another episode of Strong Place. I'm Io Johnson, Executive Director of Mental Health America of Central Carolinas.